I thought I'd just record a quick podcast episode. I know I did one like not that long ago, so it's quite recent, about alcoholism and my problems with drinking and whatever. But I thought I'd expand on that because I am currently having a drink. I could have not drank today. I could have had mocktails because I've really been trying recently, and I've been making all these different mocktail creations. When I say mocktail, it's not like a virgin mojito or something fancy. It's like bubblegum flavoured fizzy drink mixed in with some peach cordial, mixed in with some tonic, and put a straw in it. That's my mocktail, and it's sometimes they taste quite nice. I've been trying different flavours and stuff. Maybe it's a talent. Maybe I will become a barista. You never know. But probably best not to work behind a bar if you have issues with alcohol. I don't know, just an idea. But going off track, yeah, I've been struggling for a while with it, and people kept commenting on it. I think me and my friends are not as bad as each other. I think we all like to have a drink when we go out, and maybe we should start doing more wholesome things as a friendship group, like going to the cinema or something, instead of going to the pub or a bar or going for a meal and having lots of drinks with it. I don't know. I think we could definitely rein it in and encourage each other and support each other in doing that. I think because of the drinking culture in the UK, it is sometimes difficult. Like, people find it weird if you don't drink, or people are surprised, or you have to explain. But you shouldn't feel ashamed, and you definitely shouldn't feel weird if you're doing it for your health and your mental health and for yourself and the people that love you. Then there's nothing wrong with it, and you should never feel strange or ashamed. So I'm actively working at the moment to drink less and to rein in my drinking. I'm allowed 3 days of drinking a week, so I call them my drinking days. And anybody that sort of comes into my life, whether it's a friend or like someone I'm dating or whatever, I always have to explain, oh, well, I have these drinking days, so if I see you on this day, I probably won't be drinking. Or because it's just so common, like, if you go on a date, you drink. If you go out for a meal with your friend, you drink. Like, I went to mini golf with a friend, and she didn't drink, she was driving, but I had a couple of ciders. So even mini golf, I was drinking. So I think it got to a point where, like, any excuse I could to get around these drinking days, I was sort of trying to fit in a fourth day a week, sometimes by like using up all my drinking days before the weekend, and then at the weekend being like, oh, well, my friend's free, they want to do this, naturally I'll be drinking, but I've used up all my drinking days, but I'd really like to drink there because it'll be fun and it's like a social thing. And so I was just trying to find excuses, really. And I think when you start like bargaining and you're pleading for this thing, you know you've got a little bit of a problem. My mum had an uncle who was an alcoholic, and she always compares it to that, and I don't think it's that serious, because I don't think I'm an alcoholic. I wouldn't claim to be one. I've never been to an AA meeting. I know that isn't what qualifies you as an alcoholic, and it's very complicated and nuanced, but I don't think I'm an alcoholic. I think I have a small problem with alcohol, but that's what I used to say when I was anorexic, and I used to say I think I have a small problem with food. I'm not an anorexic, but this is different. I'm not an alcoholic. I just have a bit of a problem with alcohol, and the lines have got blurred for me. I think the lockdowns, I think a lot of people struggle with their mental health and addiction issues and whatnot. So the lockdowns really did contribute for me, because I was so bored and lonely and depressed, that I was drinking every day. I am on antidepressants, but I do still sometimes feel down and low, and I'm not sure whether I need stronger antidepressants or what, but I've not mentioned that to anyone because I don't really want to be on more medication or stronger medication. I didn't want to be on medication at all in the first place. When I was in hospital, the first time when I was voluntary, I took the medication because I was so out of control. I knew I needed it, and I just, in the height of my psychosis, I'd written down on a piece of paper, go wherever they take you, do whatever they say. And I had that in my pocket just to keep reading and remind me, like, go wherever they take you, do whatever they say, because they've got your best interest at heart. It's going to be fine. There's nothing to be scared of, like, just a little reminder. So I just took the medication because that's what I was being told to do. The second time when I was sectioned, obviously, I was less obedient, and I refused the medication because I was worried about my body and what it would do to my body. And I'd been ill for so long with an autoimmune condition, and I just thought my body was so fragile and it didn't need, like, strong, harsh drugs in its system. But when your psychosis is that bad, they don't really give you a choice. I think they left it a while, like, because, you know, to give me a choice, and then eventually it got to the point where they just, like, hold me down and inject me, and that was horrible. That's probably one of the most traumatic memories I have of being in hospital, was being forcibly injected, because you're struggling to get free and you don't want to be injected, and you said no, and it's, like, forced on you. And I was offered at one point to be on a board, like a hospital board, talking about patients' issues and, like, championing the patients and stuff. And that was one of the things I was going to say, but, like, when it's needed, and I guess it was needed in my case, what can they do? They can't not do it and just let people spiral out of control. So it's not a very helpful point to make, like, oh, this wasn't pleasant. We know it's not pleasant, but it had to be done. So I did the Prince's Trust instead of that, and I didn't think I had the time and energy for both, so I chose the Prince's Trust, and it was a 12-week programme. It was really good for me. I met some amazing people. I had a great time. I achieved a lot. I've got my qualification now. I'd recommend it to anyone. But yeah, I did that instead. And then I did a 1 week, because that was 12 weeks, and straight after I did a 1 week Princess Trust film and media course, and that sort of confirmed to me that I didn't want to go and study songwriting and music production at university, because I was considering it. But I think, like, songwriting I do anyway as a hobby. Music production, it's a bit fiddly for me. I think you have to be really, like, have a natural affinity for it and be passionate about it, and I just wasn't, like, it goes over my head. I prefer, like, writing the songs, recording the vocals, and someone else makes it sound great. Like, that's how I prefer to do it. But yeah, I think that's about it, really. I would just say, also, I never really talk about the really, really strange parts of my mental illnesses on anything, on my blog. I haven't done my blog for ages because it locked me out, and then once I figured my way back in, I thought, oh, I'll do a blog post soon, and I just haven't got around to it. I've been more inclined to do podcasts, but I think some things, maybe other people don't need to hear about them. I always feel better once I've, like, got things off my chest and expressed myself and made something and shouted everything from the rooftops and, you know, overexpressed myself. I've said before, but I'm quite an excessive person. There's a quote by someone about that, about, like, overall been the woman that I am, a woman of excess and zeal and stuff like that. And I think that's who I am, really, and I think I hid it for a long time, and I think that's why it's all sort of spilling out now. And then I'll come to a happy medium where I'm a bit quieter, but still express myself and my opinion and whatever, but not constantly you know, needing attention or needing to express myself or needing to share everything I make or everything I write, or every photo that I take. I think there'll come a point where I'm just comfortable in my own skin and don't need to be perceived as much or people's approval. I don't know, it's all so complicated. I don't fully understand it all myself, but I'm definitely a lot better than I was, because there have been periods of time where I've been really, really ill and I've not been able to see a way back, whereas now I'm like pretty normal, I'd say, apart from a few things here and there. One of those things is baby, who I don't talk about very often, even though this is called the Baby Diaries. My blog is called www.babyyou'rearichman.co.uk. My book was called Paper Doll Nobody Puts Baby in a Corner. Like, she's referenced everywhere. I write songs about her sometimes. I occasionally post about her, very rarely. But it was sort of like an alter ego, persona, character that I lived as and created from about the ages of 12 to 22. But it was just like a survival mechanism and a response to trauma, and that's all she is really. And I don't know why I feel so embarrassed about her sometimes, and I hate that, because I don't want to be embarrassed of her, because it was me and I was her and we were like whatever we were, and you should never be ashamed of any part of yourself, especially one that was a response to trauma. So I think that's an important thing to say as well. And just, you know, I like to mention her every now and again when I feel brave enough, because I want people to know that she was a thing and existed, and understand her the way I understand it, because everyone wants to be understood really at the end of the day. But yes, I will leave it there for today. Thank you for listening.